You're probably wondering why I'm in my bedroom right now and not in my office. Well, that's because I am a dumbass and accidentally recorded this whole video in 360p, and since I do not have the time to re-record the whole script in the correct resolution, I'm going to be doing it a slightly different way, which is actually the way I used to make my videos before I became a VTuber. Either way, I hope you enjoy. Have you ever been so violently bored and uninterested in something, it feels like an actual chore to have to do the thing you need to do? That was me trying to trudge my way through this video, which is a fucking feat considering I had to read about Mr. Mommy Fucker in the last episode. If reading Oedipus was like dragging my feet through mud, reading The Great Gatsby is like dragging your asshole through a bayou in a hurricane on a Tuesday. And to make it worse, reading Huck Finn was about as fun to me as taking a leisurely stroll through the South during the 1700s. I mean it when I say The Great Gatsby is probably one of the worst books I've ever read. I see nothing redeemable about this book. Our unassuming male lead is Nick Carraway. He recently moved to New York. Nick is cousins with probably the most insufferable female characters to ever exist. I hate Daisy Buchanan, and the only person I hate more than this bitch is her husband. Day one of meeting, it's made obvious that Daisy doesn't love her husband. She sees her child as a nuisance and Tom as a mistress. After the awkward dinner party, we learn about Jay Gatsby, a mysterious man with a lot of money known for throwing elaborate parties. Rumor is, he's the cousin of Kaiser Wilhelm, which kind of sounded familiar, and I googled it, he's some kind of German emperor. Nick attends one of these parties with a friend of Daisy by the name of Jordan. The two eventually start seeing each other despite the fact that Nick describes Daisy as dishonest, but he's attracted to her anyway. Jordan is kind of an important figure in the story. During a party, Gatsby tells her something extraordinary, to which she tells Nick a day or so after. Jordan tells Nick that he's in love with Daisy. They fell in love in Kentucky before he went off to war and she married Tom for money. Though Daisy has been faithful in the marriage, Tom is the tank engine here, likes to park his train in other stations, and he's fond of another station that already has another tank engine.
What did he say?
I'll stop with the pseudo Rule 34 Thomas the Tank Engine metaphors. Maybe. Since Gatsby is in love with Daisy, that's why he wants Nick to arrange a get-together between him and Daisy. Nick agrees, wanting nothing in return despite the fact that Gatsby tries to do nice things for Nick as payment. When this reunion does happen, it's about as awkward as you'd imagine. Seeing the man you love after years of being apart, no one would know what to say in that situation. Nick gave them privacy only to return like a half hour later, and they're having the time of their lives. The chapter after this, we do learn more about Gatsby. He was born James Gatz, who was taken in by a wealthy man as his assistant, who gave him the name Jay Gatsby. Nick does this a lot. He will dump information on you and then be like, I didn't know this at the time. He told me this later on. Why not just mention it when we get to the conversation in the story? Why do I need to know that now? Why can it not flow organically? It's weird to me, but whatever. Nick goes to Gatsby's house one day and Tom's there? The drama is picking up, and now I'm paying attention. It's another awkward scene, kind of like when Nick first went to see Daisy and Tom. Tom goes to talk to his mistress, but now we've got Daisy and Gatsby basically flirting with each other, and Nick and Jordan just sitting there. It's so awkward. It's like Tom knows something sussy is afoot and makes them all go to New York City? Okay. Tom decides to ride with Nick and Jordan in Gatsby's car, and Daisy and Gatsby in Tom's car. What the logic behind that is, I don't know. Maybe Tom did this because he wants to take a black light to the back seat and see if it lights up like one of Gatsby's parties. I guess that's one way of catching your spouse cheating. While Nick and Jordan are in the car with Tom, they stop for gas, and they happen to stop exactly where Tom's mistress's husband is working. Here we learn that Myrtle and her husband are wanting to move away because he found out about the affair, but he doesn't know with who. So Cheating Man is both losing his wife to Gatsby and his mistress to her husband, and my boy cannot handle it, and I'm loving every second of it. It's cranking up to 11 when they all get to New York. Gatsby admits that he and Daisy are in love, whether consciously or not. Daisy is shifting closer and closer to Tom, which couldn't be me. Could never be me. Daisy staying by Tom's side is giving Chloe and Tristan vibes, and I will not stand for it. After this, Daisy begs to leave the situation, and Tom's solution, he tells her to go on home with Gatsby because he knows Daisy won't leave him, which is fucking demented to me. Daisy admitted she loved both of them, but is electing to stay with Tom, yet he's making everything worse by pushing them together. That can't be good mentally for Daisy, yet I sincerely doubt he gives a fuck. Tom, Nick, and Jordan are driving back to West Egg, East Egg, whatever omelet-ass town they live in. On the way there, they encounter a scene. They find Myrtle dead. A car hit her and drove off. Nick, Jordan, and Tom return to Tom's place and Daisy's already there. Having his fill of people for the day, Nick finally nopes the fuck out of there. This is when he runs into Gatsby, who admits what happens and that Daisy was the one driving. But Gatsby will say that it was him that was driving. It's depressing to see how in love Gatsby is with Daisy even when she didn't choose him. The following day, Nick goes to Gatsby's to talk about what happened. Nick tells Gatsby to leave and forget Daisy, the smartest thing you can possibly do in this situation. But he refuses and regales us with the story of how he fell in love with Daisy. They were different and they liked that about each other. She promised to wait for him after he went to war. Instead, she married Tom for his status and money. I sure as hell wouldn't potentially be catching a murder charge for a woman who pulled this shit. After we've talked to Gatsby, both the night and the day after, Nick tells us about what happened the night Myrtle died. Her husband confronted her again about the affair, which caused her to run into the street when she saw the car. Wilson goes to Tom asking about the owner of the car since he saw him drive that car earlier in the day, but George knows that Tom wasn't the one who drove the car because Tom showed up after Myrtle died. If you remember, Tom, Nick, and Jordan rode in Gatsby's car earlier that day. The math is mathing, resulting in Wilson going to Gatsby's house and shooting Gatsby in the head, followed shortly by George shooting himself in the head. Gatsby had no will to live without Daisy, and maybe that's a product of its time, but the way the love between them is described doesn't feel authentic to me. As a result, I have a hard time believing Gatsby loves her as much as he says he does. Again, that's just me. I can see how people did and still like this book. There's some appeal in the book. There's just not enough for me to like this book. I enjoyed the drama, the murder, the ending. However, the slow trudge to get to this point is ridiculous, but the appeal is there. Do you want to know what doesn't have appeal, though? Huckleberry fucking Finn. Published by Mark Twain in 1844, this is one of the rare occurrences that I tapped out of a book. If it wasn't the grammar and heavy southern twang, it was the one specific page in chapter 2 where every sentence had the N-word in it. That was my breaking point. To Kill a Mockingbird was a challenge to read, but this, fuck me. Huck Finn is known for its casual overuse of the N-word. There's only so much understanding I can try to give it considering the date of publication. However, it doesn't mean I have to fucking like it. I think the fact that it's way more casual than it was in To Kill a Mockingbird is what's killing me. In To Kill a Mockingbird, it was derogatory. With Huck Finn, they just be saying it to say it and then say it again because they feel like saying it. For perspective, this is the version of the book I attempted to read. This word is said 212 times. Let me repeat that. 212. No, I do not regret my decision to not finish this book. I don't mind books about racial tensions. I think it can be done very well, as we will see in the book we have for the series finale, which is, oh god, next video. I am kind of excited to be done because I now have a new target. 365 Days 2 drops this month and I can't wait to force my friends to suffer with me. I do still have plans to work on a bigger project. I may upload some small ridiculous videos in between while I do work on that bigger project. I won't be dropping any hints on what that bigger project is. You'll have to see that train wreck for yourself. That being said, please remember to drink water and return your library books on time, or else.